The Hitchhiker, a terrifying encounter on a rainy night. I was never the type to pick up hitchhikers. I've seen enough horror movies to know better, but that night I was exhausted. It was nearly 2 a.m., and the rain had been coming down in sheets for the past hour, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead on the empty highway. That's when I saw her. She was standing on the side of the road, soaked to the bone, her hood pulled up her face, barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. She didn't have her thumb out, she wasn't even looking in my direction, but something about her standing there motionless in the rain made my stomach twist. I should have kept driving, but instead I slowed down. I cracked the window just enough to be heard over the rain. "Hey, you okay?" She turned her head slightly but didn't respond. Her face, pale, lips, slightly parted like she wanted to say something but changed her mind. Everything in me told me to drive away. Instead, I asked, "Need a ride?" She hesitated. Then, without a word, she walked to the passenger side and got in. The air inside my car suddenly felt thick. She didn't shake off the rain or try to warm up, just sat there, hands resting stiffly on her lap, her wet hoodie dripping onto the seat. I swallowed hard and forced myself to focus on the road. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Anywhere but here," she murmured. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. I tried to get a better look at her, but she kept her hood low. Her hands were unnervingly still. No fidgeting, no shivering, just still. For the next few miles we drove in silence. The only sound was the wipers dragging across the windshield. Every few seconds I'd steal a glance at her. Each time she was staring straight ahead, eyes locked on the road like she was expecting something. Then in a barely audible whisper she said, "You shouldn't have stopped." My grip tightened on the wheel. "What?" She didn't answer, just kept staring at the road. The pit in my stomach grew heavier. I reached for my phone, planning to send a text to my friend, just something, anything, so someone would know where I was. But before I could, she spoke again. "You're going the wrong way." My blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" She turned her head to face me. The hood slipped back enough for me to see her eyes, hollow, dark, almost lifeless. "This isn't the way you were supposed to go." My pulse thundered in my ears. I forced a laugh, trying to mask my panic. "I'm just taking the highway. You were supposed to keep driving." I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop on the empty road. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I turned to her, but she was already reaching for the door handle. I didn't stop her. She stepped out into the rain, moving slowly, deliberately. I watched as she walked to the middle of the road and stood there completely still, letting the rain pour over her. That was when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were no wet footprints where she had stepped out. I didn't wait to find out more. I threw the car into drive and sped off, my heart hammering in my chest. A few miles down, I dared to glance in my rearview mirror. She was standing in the middle of the road, right where I left her, watching me. And then, just as my car rounded the bend, she took a step forward. I placed my eyes back on the road, then in front of me, there she was. This time I didn't stop. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The Restroom Stranger, a terrifying encounter. You ever get that feeling like you're being watched? Not the casual passing paranoia, but the deep primal certainty that someone is there just out of sight waiting? That's exactly how I felt the night I stopped at that rest area. It was late, maybe 2 a.m. I had been driving for hours on a nearly empty highway, just me, the road, and the occasional semi passing by in the opposite direction. I needed to stretch my legs and splash some cold water on my face. So when I saw the blue sign for a rest stop, I took the exit. It wasn't much, just a small parking lot with a vending machine, a few picnic tables, and a rundown squat brick building. One of those standalone bathrooms, filthy windows, and a heavy metal door. I pulled into a spot under a flickering street light, the buzzing sound filling the silence. I hesitated. Something about the place felt off, like it had been abandoned for way too long. Spooky. But I shook it off. I was just tired. The door was unlocked. Water was running from underneath, and inside the air was stale. The dim fluorescent light flickered weakly, casting sickly shadows on the graffiti-covered walls. I locked the door behind me and did my business, trying not to think about how quiet it was. That's when I noticed the writing on the wall. Not just random scribbles, this was different. Someone had scrawled a message in thick, uneven letters right by the mirror. Do not use this restroom after dark. He waits. My stomach twisted. It was probably a joke, some stupid urban legend thing. But still I felt exposed, like I had just stepped into a place I wasn't supposed to be. Then came the knock. Soft at first. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I froze, gripping the sink. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. There was no way to see who was outside. No windows, no gaps. Another knock. Louder this time. I swallowed hard and forced my voice to stay steady. Occupied, I called out. Silence. Then the handle rattled. Not like someone checking if it was locked. This was forceful, insistent. Someone wanted in. A cold wave of fear ran through me. I backed away from the door, my mind racing. Was this just some drunk idiot? A trucker messing around? Then just as suddenly as it started, the rattling stopped. Minutes passed. I stood there in fear, my ears strained for any sound. Nothing. I took a slow breath and reached for the lock, my hands shaking. I turned it as quietly as I could, then cracked the door just an inch. The parking lot was totally empty, except for my car. No cars, no people, just the distant hum of the highway. I stepped out cautiously, looked around, stepping in the water running from inside the restroom. There, on the outside of the door, was a single muddy handprint that wasn't there when I went in. Someone had been pressing their palm against the door, waiting. I didn't stop to think. I ran to my car, locking the doors the second I got inside. My tires screeched as I tore out of that lot, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I didn't stop driving for another 2 hours. I don't know who or what was waiting outside that door, but I do know one thing. I'll never stop at a rest area after dark again. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The Silent Passenger, a terrifying night drive. I was never the type to get paranoid. I drove alone at night all the time, late shifts, long road trips, no problem. But that night changed everything. It was past midnight, and I was heading home from visiting my sister in another state. The highway was empty, just an endless stretch of road cutting through miles of nothingness. No street lights, no houses, just dark fields and the occasional tree line. That's when I saw the gas station, a single flickering light, an old run-down place that looked like it hadn't seen customers in years. But my fuel gauge was dangerously low, and I had no choice. I pulled in. The moment I stepped out, the air felt wrong, thick, heavy, like the silence itself was pressing in on me. The gas station had no attendant, just 2 old pumps with a faded pay inside sign taped to it. I glanced inside the place. The windows were grimy, but I could see someone inside, an old man, hunched over the counter, staring at something in his lap. I hesitated, then went in. The bell above the door jingled, but the man didn't move. His skin was pale, almost grayish, and his breathing was slow, deliberate. "Pump 1," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't respond. I shifted uncomfortably. Hey, did you lock your car? His voice was raspy, like he hadn't spoken in a long time. I blinked. What? Did you lock it? He repeated, finally looking up. His eyes were sunken, bloodshot. I didn't answer, handed him $20, turned and walked out fast, my heart hammering. As soon as I stepped outside, I instinctively hit the lock button on my key fob. The headlights flashed in response. I started pumping gas, constantly glancing around. The field stretched into darkness. The road was still empty, but I felt it, that creeping sensation of being watched. I finished fueling, got back in the car, and peeled out of there. The moment I hit the highway, I exhaled, forcing myself to laugh. It was just a weird old man. Nothing happened. I was fine. Then, in the rearview mirror, a shape, a silhouette in the back seat. I slammed the brakes so hard my tires screeched. My chest felt like it was going to explode. I turned and looked. The back seat was empty. My hands were shaking. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. But then, a breath slow and soft just behind my ear. I didn't think. I threw the car into drive and floored it, heart pounding, breath shallow. My vision blurred as I sped down the road, gripping the wheel like a lifeline. I couldn't look in the mirror. I wouldn't. It took everything in me to make it home. I threw the car into park, jumped out, and ran to my front door, locking it behind me. That night I barely slept. Every shadow in my room felt wrong. Every creak in my house made my skin crawl. By morning, I told myself I had imagined it. Stress, exhaustion. That's all it was. Then I went back to my car and saw the back seatbelt still buckled, like someone had been sitting there, like someone had never left. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends.